Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Zone Star State podcast. I'm Matthew Brune, and joining me once again is Ishmael Johnson. And today we are joined by the head coach of Texas Tech men's basketball, Grant McCasland. Coach, how are you doing today?
Great, Brune. Good to see y'all.
Yes. Thanks for joining us again. You're one of the returners we've had. We've had Scott Drew on now like 4 straight years. I think we've had you on 3 or 4 straight years. So y'all are the staples in our podcast now.
Texas is Texas. If you get some good basketball in Texas, man, let's stick to it.
Yes, for sure. Well, just starting off, obviously, your first year at Texas Tech, 23-11 overall, 11-7 in conference play, losing the first round of the NCAA tournament to a Final Four NC State team who took the nation by storm, really. How would you encapsulate that season for you? What you learned and just how you look back on it before going into this year.
Well, Brune, because you used to watch our practices, that I think the real questions everybody had was like, is he going to play this slow at Texas Tech? But as you remember, we actually modeled a lot of what we did at North Texas off of what the Texas Tech team that played the national championship game was. And those two teams were Virginia and Texas Tech, who played the slowest pace. So you're always trying to figure out how do you get to that last game. And so the model really was, I got it from, Beard and Mark Adams and how they ran what I felt like was an effective way, especially for a place like us. So going into the season, though, and we looked at our roster and we looked at the team here at Tech, it just did not benefit us to play slow. I mean, we didn't have a grinded out defensive team that I felt like could win in the possessions. I felt like we needed to push pace. So we ended up averaging the most points since like 2009-10. We shot the best free throw percentage in school's history. And before Warren Washington got hurt, we really had a team that I felt like could have went deep into the tournament. Losing Warren really put us behind. One, rim presence, and without the charge rule and where they started calling all blocks, it took away. It was like really the kryptonite, I think, to this defense was eliminating the charge. Because when you get people on the side and you're bullying them into these seams and you're stepping up and you can take the charge, but then when it turned into a block or you had to have size for verticality, really we struggled. So to be honest, I did love our team, and I really loved our ability to move the ball, and specifically when we had Warren and Devin Cambridge healthy. That really derailed our season and put us behind. I mean, we started out Big 12 play, I think 5-1, and we were able to move the ball and play with more pace. And honestly, I'm so thankful for that group that believed in us early, that gave us a chance, because we didn't play very well early. I mean, we really didn't shoot it well. And I did feel like we had a great 3-point shooting, which is now people know Kerwin Walton, Chance McMillan, Darian Williams. Those are the 3 best Power 5 shooting 3 guys in the country, returning percentage and makes. So it just felt like I knew we would turn the corner. It was just a matter of, could we be tough enough defensively and could we rebound in the big games? And I think honestly what you saw was when we lost at Houston, when we lost at Iowa State, and those games where we needed to be more physical, we really struggled. And so, I mean, that kind of put us into the postseason where, hey, we played good, beat BYU, played really well, got Houston. Darian Williams gets hurt in the BYU game, and we just lose another piece that was versatile, and he didn't even play in the Houston game. He tried to. And then we go in the NCAA tournament, had to played a really good team, man.
Yeah.
And Warren, we tried to get him into the game because we felt like if we were going to win the whole thing, we needed to acclimate him quickly, like throw him back in there. But we just weren't in the right rhythm defensively and offensively. And give NC State credit, I definitely thought they were the better team, and they were definitely more physical, and they out-rebounded us in that game, and that really was the difference.
Yeah. Looking at, heading into that offseason or this past offseason, was it just as simple as when you were looking at players to acquire and who was available, who were targets? Was it just as simple as like getting those guys in terms of like length on the perimeter, length on the outside, and getting those guys that, again, we'll see what you guys look like on the floor this year, but like working towards a more sustainable style that doesn't, necessarily burn out at times like it did last year?
Well, the Big 12 is it just, I mean, you don't have to look farther than Kansas's team
Sure.
to know, like, just you can think you have depth, and then you get into league play and the physicality this league imposes on each other. You just never have enough depth. I don't care who you are. And the teams that had the depth, the Iowa State, which I thought kept their core group healthy for a majority of the season and had great size and length, and they were super physical, and Houston. And unfortunately, it caught up with Houston when they got to the end and made it to the tournament. So I will tell you, when we evaluated all this, we did look at, like, what's the durability of this team? How can we add physical pieces to this and return guys? But honestly, I mean, you have to have a resilient group. And you have to have a group that loves to play the game when it gets really difficult. And so if there's one variable to this that we really honed in on, was who loves this game. And when things get extremely hard, who do we find on other rosters, on other teams, that everyone says they're coachable and they show up every day? And I just think your team can get better when you have a group like that. And I loved our first team because I thought that was the heart of the team. Unfortunately, just with the lack of experience of the guys in the roster that were on the bench, it just probably didn't have the firepower that we needed to be one of the top three teams. I mean, we were a top three team. We ended up fourth, but tied with Baylor in that spot. But I mean, just to win our league and to make a run deep in the tournament, to withstand that, I mean, you better have a really resilient group who can handle the adverse nature of the Big 12. That's what we evaluated the most, honestly. So we did want to have depth. You do want to have talent. You do want to have size and length, yes. But really, it's more like the characteristics of the people and how they go about their work every day was really the biggest evaluation that we did.
Yeah, and obviously in the Big 12, you got to have talent, and you go out and get JT Toppen from New Mexico, one of the best freshmen in the country. Instead of going to the draft, y'all end up getting him over there. What was that process like, and what are your impressions of him now that y'all are starting practice and you're going full speed ahead now?
Yeah, well, having been around the Dallas area and my son playing there and being able to be in the gym a lot, it was really an advantage just because you get to hear about people. And I'd seen JT play since he was a young man, and really had a respect for the program that he played in. And then in the summer, in the program that he went to high school at, Faith Family, and won state championships. But he'd always done the one thing that you guys know translates to every level, and that's rebound. I mean, he just always been an elite rebounder, an elite nose for the ball. And skill level wise, you could tell there was a growth that was trending in the right direction. And he had such an awesome year at New Mexico. He hits the portal, and obviously we're really engaging immediately. But when you hit the portal and you're also in the NBA draft, there's this, like, which one do you put as a priority? And it's going to be the NBA draft and he had a real chance to get drafted, especially with his numbers and with his measurables and with his ability to rebound. It was just a question of whether you wanted to get more experience to elevate your opportunity, or do you want to go now and try to put yourself in the best position to play. And so it was interesting because I think they handled it remarkably. He's got an amazing mom and a great support system. And really, it was difficult because we tried to get him to take visits, but he was working out for the Knicks. He was working out, getting ready for the combine, and it just made it difficult. And we talked to him a lot, though. And the one thing that I know was consistent for them was just how can he continue to grow and mature as a person and not just as a basketball player. And because y'all know this, I think it's not about, I think he's going to play in the NBA. I honestly believe that. But it's like, how do you stay in the NBA? How do you become a guy that teams want you on their team every year, and how do you become where you're just every team can utilize your strengths, and there's not just you get like, well, this team could use you because you. I just think there was a real long-term plan that they had, that they saw that this would be a good fit. And honestly, and y'all know this, it came down to another school in the state of Texas that I think is unbelievable and does a great job. And ultimately, when we got to the end, we felt it shifting away from us and just said, like, hang in there, because I honestly believe from the very beginning, regardless of resources, and we do have great resources here, so let's not get it confused, but I honestly thought it was the best basketball fit. And I think people will see that when he's playing for us this year. I think his versatility, his scoring, his inside-out play, he's a great teammate. I'll tell you what, since we've been here and I was at Baylor, I haven't coached anyone with his touch and his nose for the ball. Like it is an unbelievable combination. His ability to score the basketball around the rim, his natural instincts to go find the ball, and his length and his athleticism to block shots, to pursue the ball, to guard multiple positions. I mean, it is as good as I've ever been around. Really is.
So does it remind you of anybody from like whether the Baylor years or anything like that?
Yeah, you know who Rico Gathers was one of those guys that just pursued the ball. Like, he's got his pursuit, but he's got Quincy Acey's explosiveness. You know, like Quincy was just his second jump, his first jump was just like he probably doesn't have maybe the very 1% of Quincy Acey's, but he's got every bit of the basketball finish ability. But I'm telling you, his left-hand touch is Jonathan Motley, who played for us there, who's probably got one of the best skill levels of anybody. Like, just, the Corey Jeffersons, the touch of those guys is just elite, and those guys played along. But, I mean, Darian Williams is one of the best players in the Big 12, okay? Yeah. And he's one of the best basketball players in the Big 12. He's a great rebounder. There's nothing that he doesn't know to do. It was probably the second week of workouts, and he boxed JT out, and the ball bounced over, and he thought he was going to get it with two hands. JT didn't foul him, ripped it out of his hands, pivoted. He's a lefty, but he just dunked it with his right hand really fast. And, like, Darian Williams just looked at me, and I looked at him, and I was like, yeah, this is different. And I mean, I want to set the expectation straight that there's a lot of growth that needs to happen.
Sure.
With JT, just in regards to as he continues to learn to develop and understanding all the nuances of the game. But when it comes to impacting the game in the way that we need in the Big 12, the physicality, the rebounding, the scoring, the inside out ability, the quick twitch motor skill, athleticism, shot blocking, like, he's elite, man. He's got all Big 12 talent for sure.
I do want to ask a little bit more about the more experienced guys you brought in later, but speaking of Faith family, you also brought in Jazz Henderson, who I thought was a very underrated pickup for you guys. Not very heralded, but part of that similar program, like you mentioned with JT, winning state championships, being part of that pedigree. What made him kind of a target for you guys? Because, like I mentioned, he there wasn't many on his radar, but when I saw him end up with you guys, I was very pleased, but that somebody noticed his ability.
Well, Brune knows this. Like, I think the depth of your team, and this is what we talked about when we evaluated, like, who plays the game to win.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of guys play the game for you. They say they want to play to win, but some guys play the game and they want to score more than they want to win. Or some guys want to shoot more than they want to win. I'll tell you what, Jazz just always plays the game to win. And if I look at you and you say, like, Coach, what do we need to do? Then I'm like, that's my guy. Like, however many of those guys you can put around your program where everybody's trying to find the greatest advantage to win a game, and Jazz is that. And so is Leon Horner. And I just think the young guys in that we brought in, Christian Anderson, another freshman, like, those three guys, they're unbelievable guys. They're unbelievable players, but they're better competitors and winners. And those guys always get better with us, and they always make practice better. And the more you can make practice competitive, and the more you can surround the guys on this team with other guys that have that competitive nature, then I think there's success follows.
Sure.
Y'all ended the year last year 65th on Ken Palm in defense. I know some of that, Devin Cambridge being hurt, Warren Washington being hurt. What did you learn defensively, or if anything, in terms of roster construction and just how you have to go about, battling these Big 12 teams on that end?
Yeah, so, the returners that we brought back, I mentioned already, Darian Williams, Chance McMillan, Kerwin Walton. I mean, they're all such versatile guys. They all make threes. They're great multi-dimensional guards that can do different things. And then Devin Cambridge, who's probably the best switchable forward in our league. I mean, he really can go and wreak havoc defensively, and such a rim pressure with his verticality in scoring at the basket. And then he's made a few threes in his career, which I think has improved. And then Emily Yalaho, he returned. But all those guys we brought in last year, every one of them played in the NCAA tournament. There were transfers. Same thing with this year. Federico went to the NCAA tournament at Pitt. He's a remarkable teammate. A lot of people I talked to in the evaluation process talked about his versatility defensively. I think he's one of the best team defenders forwards in the country. I really do, that we're in the transfer portal. He's not going to jump off the page with the things he does on offense, but he's consistent, and he's an elite team defender with shot blocking, with rebounding, knowing how to play. He really has an awareness of what goes on around him. And then we brought in Elijah Hawkins, who is the leading returning assist guy in the country. He took Howard to the NCAA tournament, and then went and turned around a Minnesota program who had struggled the year before in Big Ten play. They won 9 games with him playing the point. Now that I'm around him, his motor, his toughness, his grit, he was from the DMV, played at DeMatha High School, won championships there. He's just a winner, man. Little dude knows how to really play. An underrated part of him. He's a great on-ball defender, but he can really shoot threes, man. Catch and shoot. I think that's the X factor with him. Everybody talks about his assists, but when he's open from 3, he makes them. And then Kevin Overton, maybe he has the twitchiest, best, high end of all the wings that we have, because he's a scorer, but he also has got a chance to be our best defender. I mean, he's got great length. He's a lefty. He's kind of that rangy, quick mover, can score, make 15-footers. He's been really hard to guard in transition. So I just love the guys we brought in. All of them play. He averaged over 10 points a game as a freshman last year on a Drake team that played in the NCAA tournament and won championships. It's a really awesome group, man. It really is. And JT obviously played in the NCAA tournament in New Mexico. And so I just think winning is a bigger component than all the kind of neat things that they do. But I think what we addressed was kind of this, how do you create some depth and versatility in this league? And that's probably the most important thing that we can do.
On paper, you mentioned how the first team last year was the heart and soul of that team, and you mentioned building the depth, but on paper, at least for now, how do you see the balance of this team? Because at least to me, from my perspective, it looks like a team that just gels together in terms of roles, like you mentioned with Hawkins being the, if it was one word, right, assist guy, and then you have Overton, who is scorer / knockdown shooter guy, and then you have Toppen and Federico. On paper, do you see this as okay, here's obviously they can do more than that, but everybody has a primary role that complements each other and kind of makes the whole team work?
Yeah, I would tell you, and it's twofold. It's what you're saying. It's look at their strengths as basketball players, and then look at them as people. And when you talk to them, I'll tell you, the people that have the most success early can look at you and see what you want them to do, but can also see how it fits with other people. It's very rare that people can look at you and go, okay, coach, I see what he's doing too, and I see how I need to do this. A lot of times they look at you and go what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? And then they can't translate it to what the other guys are doing on the court. It's just always this roadblock of but I'm trying to do this. It's well, do you recognize him? And I will tell you, their ability to recognize the needs of the team separate this group. That's what I'll tell you will be our separator. And there's a lot of things in this league that you have to be good at. And this league tests everybody. You can't just hang your hat on one guy. I mean, teams that hang their hat on one guy, take our best team in our league. Jamal Shedd hurts his ankle, and everybody that dude, when he was off the floor, it changed a lot of things. And when you look at most teams that are great, they do have a guy that they can go to when the game's on the line. You got to have that guy. I don't know who that is quite yet for us. I think Darian Williams will step into that role because he's so versatile and he has experience with us, and he's an all Big 12 player that returns. I do love him in that role for us. He hasn't done it, though, for a team. I do think that that's how you get to the top end of our league. But I'm telling you, if you're just trying to roll with one guy all night in the Big 12, you better figure out how to play complementary basketball defensively and offensively.
Yeah.
And I do think we have a team that can progress over the course of the season and handle the rigors of our league.
I'm gonna go back to last season real quick because I'm curious. What was your favorite moment of last year? Whether it's a win or anything like that. Was there a moment to you that you're like, first year Texas Tech? Like obviously the crowd's incredible, the atmosphere, the fan base is incredible, all that stuff.
Was it going sick into Foster Arena?
Yeah. like one of the which one? Like is that it for you?
That wasn't my favorite moment.
Go ahead.
I was at that game, and you were very sick after.
With a mask on. I hadn't been around our team in 2 days, and like 5 guys with the flu, and I mean it was wild. But I mean that place is unbelievable, by the way. And Coach,
it's great.
And that facility. I mean, our guys will tell you. We thought that as environment goes, they would tell you that was as tough a place to play as we'd ever played.
Like on top of each other.
It's awesome, man. They've done a great job, man. That atmosphere is real. I'll tell you, it was public when we were flying in the first Big 12 game. There was a situation in our program that became public when we were flying to the first Big 12 game at Texas. And when we land, the news had broke. And, you're trying to like so many new things you're trying to do. And, you want to start Big 12 play all right, but it's on the road at Texas. And I'll tell you, we went straight to the gym for shoot around at the new facility that Texas has, which is an awesome environment too. And we went into the locker room, just the team. And I just brought them together, and I was like, hey, the only way you win is be for each other. And one of the guys on our team got in front of the whole team and just said, hey, I just wanted to apologize for the distraction that's going on with our team. And I want to take full responsibility for the distraction. And I just wanted you guys to know that I'm here to do everything I can to help you guys win. And I just thought it was a real mature moment. And we don't win the game at Texas to start Big 12 play. We don't make the tournament if we don't win that game. I believe it. And I thought that what people see on the court is one thing, but what connects people is your ability to be honest with people and say when you don't do things well. And I thought that showed a lot of maturity on the part of some of the guys on our roster to really just say, hey, I'm at a place where I'm not helping us out, and I apologize. And I just think when you can ask for forgiveness from people, that's beautiful, and people respect you because of it. That was big. We don't win that game if that doesn't happen. And then fast forward, I just think the comeback win against K-State at home, and actually Tyler Perry was out here for last week, and honestly, he was in the game, and TP had a couple shots right in front of our bench, and I told TP it was a good shot, man. And I think he wanted me to talk trash to him, and I wouldn't do it.
Don't do that.
And TP was mad at me because I wasn't talking trash to him. And I was actually like, he's a good player. We told him don't go under, but we kind of half went under. And he just, I was standing right behind it, watching it swish. I'd seen it too many times. But just the resilience of our guys to come back and find a way to win that game at home against K-State. We're down 6 with just a couple minutes to play, and it looks like we're dead in the water. Darian Williams comes up with a huge offensive rebound. And then I thought the game against BYU at home was really pivotal. We got down huge at half. We couldn't guard them. We were chasing them. And just our guys' resilience. I thought we just showed a lot of fight all year long. We just never tapped out. I mean, these dudes competed all the way through. And we got to the end of the season. We had to win at Oklahoma State. We had to win at West Virginia. 2 teams who were on the ropes that we felt like you needed to put away. In both those games, we really got better, man. Our guys stayed connected, and I gave you four scenarios, but I mean those two, honestly, the K-State game and the BYU game at home, this atmosphere at the USA at Texas Tech, there's not a better college basketball atmosphere. I mean, somebody come here and tell me what place is better. I mean, when it's on And the worst job I did was the Texas game. I was horrible that game. I wasn't prepared as I needed to be. There's a lot going on here, and I just didn't handle it well. I got to improve in that regard. Our students were unbelievable. They camped out from Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night to Sunday. I mean, they camped out for like 3 days to get ready for this game. I don't even know when the game was, but I mean, the whole thing was amazing. And I learned a lot from that game, and I know our team did, and a lot of amazing moments at this place. But Texas Tech basketball, home court advantage is a real thing, man.
When looking at this, the new Big 12 again, with the addition of some teams, and then obviously Texas and Oklahoma leaving, but you add in Colorado and Utah and Arizona, and just for depth purposes, Arizona State as well. What are your initial thoughts on those programs? Obviously, you lose 2 quality programs, but if you look at Arizona, one of the top programs in the country the past couple of years, and Colorado obviously having their year last year. So what do you mentioned how it just doesn't stop, and it doesn't seem to have gotten any easier.
Well, I mean, I think the unique part of this that everybody's talking is 20 games. I mean,
that's true.
You're not playing 18 league games, just add 2 on top of it. That and the travel is going to be unique, and it being an unbalanced schedule. I mean, there's just a lot of unique parts to it that we stepped into last year, but didn't get those 2 extra games with conference play starting early. And I know this conference schedule just came out, and I mean, I just have so much respect for those programs that were added. I mean, everybody can coach, but I just really respect the way those teams compete every night that we added. I mean, and I got to work with Tommy Lloyd, so I'll just specifically talk to that one in Arizona, because we got to work USA basketball, and he's been a friend of mine from when I started coaching in college basketball. I mean, like, that atmosphere is just a great example of how this league got better. And when people are like, how do you get better when teams like Texas and Oklahoma leave? Well, Colorado had like 3 NBA players on last year's roster, and Tad Boyle is he coached USA basketball the year before, and Bobby Hurley, and Coach Smith at Utah is like, I had to face him. We were at North Texas Brune, you remember, and they were at Utah State, and we played them in Jamaica, and they beat us. And I mean, they're just, teams are so tough. And I mean, like, so I honestly, as crazy as it sounds, I honestly believe the Big 12 got better. And I mean, I had somebody tell us, hey, we think you've got a really good team for next year that does analytics. Yeah. And, you could be a 3 seed, 2 seed. I mean, there's a chance you could have a really good team. And then that's the good news. The bad news is you have the 6th or 7th best Big 12 team. I'm like, I mean, you got a top 15 maybe team, and then you got 8 teams that could be better. I mean, it just is a really remarkable league, and a lot of respect for the coaches in it.
Yeah. Well, my last question, just what are you looking forward to over the next 40 days before your season starts? Is there anything with this team in particular you're like, we need to hammer this home, or anything like that? Or is it just, continuing to do what you've always done, which is build great defenses, great teams in general?
Well, I do think we'll need to move the basketball better than what we did, Brune, when I was trying to slow the game down and just play in the half court, because I felt like that gave us the best chance. I do love our talent. I love our versatility. I just think the ability to put teams on their heels offensively and defensively gives you an advantage when you have talent. And we've got great talent. We're probably not as big as we want to be in the long run, just with size of depth. I think if you can add that layer of depth with size, you can really start to get your program to a place where when you do have some injuries, you can still impose your will on people at this level. But I just think we've got to be more aggressive defensively. I mean, you can't let people do what they want to do. And indicative of the 2 teams that won our league last year, Houston and Iowa State. I mean, both those teams were aggressive defensively, top 1 and 2 in the country in defense. And I just think that's going to be where we separate ourselves. And when we played in the national tournament and played in the national championship game with Coach Beard and Coach Adams here, it was the number 1 defense in the country. So I do not think you can get this confused. And I watched it at Baylor when Baylor had that team that won a national championship. You better be a grimy team, man. You better find a way to win in the trenches. And that's an area that we're just going to have to make a big jump in this year. That's one. And then two, I do think the more you can put people on their heels, however you want to do it, offensive, whether it be post play, whether it be physicality at the basket, whether it be offensive rebounding, which like a U of H does such a good job of. I just think, when I watched that UConn team play, man, did they put pressure on you? I mean, the way they run sets and the way they put you underneath the rim and the post, the way they drive it right to the teeth of the defense. I mean, it's got a physical component to it that you cannot deny. You cannot be cute and run good offense and win at an elite level. I mean, you can run good offense, but it better be downhill and better have some aggressiveness to it. So I just think the way we're sharing the ball, and we're best when we're moving it. We can't put it in one guy's hands all game long, and we've got to find a way to be aggressive on both sides. And that's going to be the way that we set ourselves apart and put ourselves in position to win this league.
Yeah. All right, Coach. That's all we got. That's it. 30 minutes. We appreciate you for coming on, as always. Great talking to you, man. It's always a joy to have you on.
Man, I respect y'all so much. Thanks for all you do for Texas, for basketball in the state of Texas, man. Y'all have such a heart for it and a passion, and it comes out in how well you guys do. So thanks so much. And Dave Campbell's basketball, man. It's awesome. Appreciate y'all.
For sure.